Okay, welcome back to our third episode of Two Old Guys
and their records
with Vas,
Mike.
And today, as promised, is our Christmas edition, right?
Wow.
Okay, this is our Christmas show, and you can see that I'm very, very unfestive. And you know why? Because I went to the local shopping centre very, very recently, and there was a kid in the trolley, you know, with the father pushing him along. And well, how old are they? Are they 3 or 4 years old? He saw me with my Black Sabbath The End tour t-shirt, and he goes, "Hi Santa." He goes, "Hi Santa," and I go to myself, wow, you know, with my Black Sabbath
t-shirt. You
t-shirt.
don't have to dress up now.
Right. I felt like saying to this kid, guess who's not getting a present this year, you know what I mean? But anyway, we'll leave it at that. So I'm being unfestive here, no Christmas hats, no red t-shirt, no nothing. So it is our Christmas edition, and we're looking at our favourite Christmas songs, and there's lots there. There's lots there.
Sure.
There's lots of Christmas albums. I think Delta's got a new one. Delta Goodrum's got a new one at the moment. Everyone's done it. Mariah Carey's done a Christmas album. Frank Sinatra. They've all done Christmas albums. So we're not doing an album. We're doing a single, a song, our favourite singles, right?
My choice is Do They Know It's Christmas by Band Aid. Of course, the Live Aid concerts followed after this, or rather on the back of this. The single went to #1 immediately, and I believe it sold 3 million copies. #1 for 5 weeks in the UK, sold about 3 million copies in a week or so. Voted the #1 Christmas record in a number of polls, and an international hit. Of course, it's a big lineup. You have all the pop stars of the day, and then you have all the real stars like Paul McCartney. U2 are there as well, but that doesn't mean anything. Ultravox are there. The whole project came, and the song was written by Midge Ure from Ultravox and Bob Geldof from the Boomtown Rats. A band with only a very minor hit, very, very low profile, nothing fantastic there. Even their minor hit was barely a song, I would say.
I remember on a compilation, but I Don't Like Mondays. It was on some kind of compilation.
Oh, I beg your pardon, I'm thinking of the first single, Rat Trap.
Ah.
But you're right, I Don't Like Mondays, I completely forgot about it. I'll acknowledge that as a good song. But their first hit was really nothing. They only really had one hit. As I say, written by Midge Ure and Bob Geldof. The following concert, the Live Aid thing, which was a huge spectacular, by this time Midge Ure had been pushed to the side, or rather just not getting the media attention, and it looked like Bob Geldof had pulled this whole thing off by himself. He didn't. He got knighted as a consequence. Good on him. But that left Midge Ure out there, just not being acknowledged for anything that he did in this project. Of course, the Americans followed from this, as they do. What?
They do, they follow, that's true.
They did something similar, and they called it
We Are the World.
We Are the World, which was a little bit schmaltzy.
Didn't Michael Jackson write that?
He wrote that, yes. And of course that was the Americans' answer to Band Aid. This is a pop song. It's very catchy, it's very melodic, it's very easy on the ears, as opposed to We Are the World, which, you know, it's either your cup of tea or it isn't. So that's the Christmas single.
So my choice.
Let's see.
Okay, my choice. And there's lots and lots of songs, right? There's Mariah Carey's All I Want Is for Christmas Is You, right? There's Wham's Last Christmas.
A nice pop song.
Nice,
Yep.
They're all nice pop songs. But I've gone for something a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more classical. And I've gone for John Lennon, right? John Lennon and Happy Christmas War Is Over. Okay, a song that still is played even today after almost 50 years. Okay, it's been remixed into a dance type of track. Okay, so it's still relevant today. It's with the Plastic Ono Band, okay, and with the Harlem Community Choir.
Whoa, what a highlight! Yeah,
Well, that's a highlight. I think that's a highlight.
Yes.
But I suppose that shows where John Lennon was at the time. Okay, so let's have some context here. The Beatles have broken up. Okay, he's released John Lennon Plastic Ono Band, which is that album is the ground zero of rock, that is regarded as the ground zero of rock. Okay, he says on that album in the song called God, I don't believe in the Beatles. Right, so he has wiped his slate clean. He's starting afresh. 1970 he's got that album. 1971 he has a commercial success with Imagine. Right, he's written that song, that classical song Imagine, and I think this song Happy Christmas follows that trend of Give Peace a Chance, Imagine, and Happy Christmas. Very anti-Vietnam War, okay, very anti-war. There was a bit of controversy at the time, some problems with Northern Songs, the publishing company. So although it was released in the United States in 1971, it was released the following year in the UK, right? So it did very poorly in the US in 1971, but then I suppose from what I've read, because of time, that there was no time to sort of promote it before Christmas. But in the UK, I think they released a little bit earlier, and I think it reached in the top 5. Right? But since then, you know what's amazing about this song? Since then, it sort of pops up every so often in the charts because it's a great Christmas song, right? And what I love about this, what I love about the song is, you know, this whole political message. And you know, after his success of Imagine, I mean, there's a quote there where he says, I realised what to do with political songs. You write a political song with a message, but you add honey to it. So you soften it. So he's not screaming, you know, give me some truth here. He's actually saying something quite important, but also sugar-coated with this Christmas song. And I like, you know, it's all about, you know, social unity, black or white, yellow, red, rich, poor. He goes through classes, he goes through races. You know, we all come together and we celebrate Christmas. Okay? And I love the rhetorical question, what have you done? Right? So what have you done? He's asking the listener, what have you done all year? And maybe this is an answer. This is an answer to come together and to bring peace and all that. So I think it's a great song. It's got, like I said, it's got the choir. It's a pleasant song. It's got a political message, and that's my favourite Christmas song. Yep. Okay. So as always, the record guru is definitely Mike, and he's got amazing knowledge about all these idiosyncrasies and all these little sensitive issues in records. And today's issue is off-center records. Now, a record should be perfect as in a circle, and you're telling me there's off-center records?
No, I'm saying the grooves can be off-center. So occasionally you'll put the needle on the record and the arm will do this as it's following the grooves. As you get closer to the center, the wow and flutter that you hear it gets more and more pronounced as you get closer to the center of the record.
How's that happen?
That's really quite annoying, because if you have, let's say, piano or flute, it'll be instantly noticeable from the very first groove on that record. As I say, it gets worse as it progresses to the center. How does that happen? Well, here we have a stamper. Okay, so the record is cut onto a blank disc. From that, using the electroforming process, a stamper is produced. Okay, the stamper needs to have a center hole punched into it. If that hole is off center, then the record will rotate off center. Okay, so how does that happen? Someone doesn't spend enough time finding the center hole. That's it, it's as simple as that. There are some little quirks in the pressing process that can add to off-center records, but in the main it's due to operator error and not punching that hole in the middle. The results are devastating. It can ruin the enjoyment of the music.
That bad?
You've never heard it?
Well, I never knew about it.
Okay, so the grooves need to be concentric to the center hole, to the center of the disc. EMI specification was an eccentricity of 50.4 microns. That's half the width of a human hair. You can buy a lot of records today, and this is a big complaint amongst serious record collectors, where records are off-center. You can buy a record that's off-center by 200, 250 microns, rather than the 50.4 microns that EMI had in their tolerance. So why does this happen? Well, we have a lot of new manufacturers today that either don't have the expertise, don't have that knowledge, and while they're learning, you might just have to put up with it, unfortunately.
And what about the old days? Were the offsetted records?
In the old days, you had old guys that were in their job for 20 years. They started their career there. There are a lot of people that started their career at EMI Records, for example, and retired at retirement age, still employed by the same company.
Wow.
So that doesn't necessarily happen today. Also, a lot of the technical process, the technical know-how has been lost over the years. So that's being redeveloped. The good thing is that the record manufacturing industry today generally shares information. Back in the day, in the heyday of the vinyl record, there's no way anybody would be allowed into a record factory to see what they've got and how they do it. Whereas today, people are really quite often happy to help.
So tell me, what would an off-center heavy metal album sound like?
It would sound like crap. It's more noticeable on long sustained notes, as I mentioned, the piano and the flute. However, you'll still hear the wow and flutter, depending on how bad the eccentricity of that record is.
Wow.
So it's an unfortunate thing that it happens very often today, and one place you can see this, if you search on YouTube off-center records, you'll see one particular American plant that charges a lot of money for their records, and a lot of them are off-center. In fact, I had one here just the other day that I've sent back. It was a test record, so it had test tones on it. The tones are a long sustained note, if you like. And the purpose of that test record is to calibrate the disc cutting equipment. When the record is off-center, that test disc becomes useless. The good news is that that particular plant has upgraded their equipment, and they should be over that problem now.
Wow. As always, we would like to finish our episode with a new album, a review of a new album. It's very, very important to support the current record industry by buying new stuff and supporting the artists. Okay, so for me, this week's review is Nick Cave's new album called Idiot Prayer. And it's a live album. I'm not into live albums, I must say. I'm not into live albums. But I did buy this because listening to some of the songs are incredible, because there's a bit of context here, but before we get into the context, I got into Nick Cave very, very late in the 80s. And ironically, I got into Nick Cave through the movie Dogs in Space, right, with Michael Hutchence, and that was like a tribute to the punk era in Melbourne in the late 70s, right? So he's a punk rock star, and there's a song on there, Shivers, Michael Hutchence singing, but it was Birthday Party, right? So that's how I got into Nick Cave, and I've become a huge Nick Cave fan. I bought this album because I love Nick Cave, but it's a very, very strange album, because this is a true COVID album. That's a true COVID album. Now he did this series called Conversations With, right? And in these little shows, he'd strip back his songs and play them, right? And then this idea came that he would be playing at the Alexandra Hall venue, and then COVID strikes, right? But he still wanted to do this, and it's just him and his piano. That's it.
No audience.
No audience. So this is a true COVID album. You know, we're going to be looking back at 2020, and this epitomises it. Because I love even the cover. You've got the cover with him playing the piano and this vast emptiness. So for me, it is Nick Cave, an artist with just his art. And I think the third instrument here is silence. Right? So in other words, because you can hear it, he's playing the piano and you can hear that silence in the background. You know, those long notes, those long piano notes. But it really reminds me of, you know, the old blues singers where they used to just play guitar and it was just them and the guitar and that was it. So this is what it reminds me of. Him, his piano, and I must say, so the set list sort of, I suppose, suits the songs. Songs like, you know, the Ship Song or I Want You or Into My Arms, you know, they're piano based already, right? But there's no backing vocals, There's no trumpet, there's no guitar, there's nothing like that. It's just the piano and him. And I think that resonates, you know. But well, there's a couple of surprises, I think. You know, the Montezuma song with Grinder Man's on it. Okay, again, no guitar, just him and the piano. And I think it works, it works. You know, I love Nick Cave's voice, that baritone crooning voice. So I think it resonates with such an album. And I just think it's a great album for Nick Cave fans, Australian music fans, and also looking back on 2020 and realizing what, you know, this pandemic did to the industry. I think also the title Idiot Prayer, you know, during a pandemic, we're all by ourselves and that's it. There's no one else. You know, there's no one else there, you know, so I think that is who we were in 2020 during, you know, pandemic. And Australia was relatively pretty good in comparison to, let's say, Italy or Spain. Mm-hmm. But I think in a situation, in a crisis like this, we are on our own. You know, so I think, you know, I think it sort of represents a lot for 2020.
I didn't buy any records this week, but I did get some test pressings back.
Okay.
So here I've got Bob Marley, Andre Rieu, and Navidad Cantates y Orquestras. This is a Spanish Christmas album. So you should pick them up.
When they're pressed.
When they're pressed.
Okay, as always, thank you very much for watching. We look forward to our next episode. We might get one more episode in as an end of year episode and maybe look at our favourite albums this year. What came out. And until then, thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Two old guys.
And their records.
Vas and Mike.
See you later.